The most memorable moment in our work so far has been on the fourth clinic that we hosted downtown. We had a person experiencing homelessness that we had talked to a bunch of times before at different events, and he was always very resistant to talking about COVID or hearing any of our health information, but he always just wanted to talk to us about life, what we were up to, what he's been up to. And we started to build a relationship with him that was not just about, giving him information or giving him a vaccine, but just relating to him on kind of this human level. And so on the fourth vaccine clinic, he comes up again, and we thought we were just going to chat like we usually do. And he came over and he was like, you know what, I've been thinking a lot about this, and you guys have been so clear and open in your intentions, and I'm ready to get a vaccine.
The most memorable moment in our work so far has been when you have students on campus stop you and ask, where can I go get vaccinated?
When we interviewed a pulmonary care specialist doctor, when he told us that he has signed more death certificates in the past year and a half than his entire career, I was just stunned. He explained how the process is, why we should trust the vaccine ourselves, and why there is a bigger picture in getting the vaccine. It's not just for you, it's for the society.
El momento más memorable de nuestro trabajo ha sido mirando a los estudiantes participar en el taller de las diferentes vacunas para COVID.
The outreach we've had in the small rural areas of South Texas. The people we've met have been so kind and so wonderful, and they were so willing to share their stories and their experiences with us.
Watching my university's vaccination rates increase, going from under to around 50% to over 70% in 2 weeks has really impressed me beyond measure. Watching students take that time to report their vaccines, get vaccinated, and really care for each other has showed me that these students do care for each other, we do see each other as a family and a community, and I'm just really excited to watch that number increase even more.
This experience has allowed me to meet so many different people, and I have had the privilege of working with an amazing team, and I am so thankful for this experience.
All right. Already, we get to see some of your beautiful faces. I hope you enjoyed that and that you will enjoy seeing many more of you on screen tonight. Welcome to the Faith in the Vaccine rally. We are so excited to have you here. We are so excited to celebrate your work and to give you an opportunity to connect with each other and to be inspired by each other, because we know, and maybe you don't all know, that you have been doing incredible work all across the country. And it's our pleasure to bring you together to see some of that work and to learn from each other. If you could for a moment, turn your videos on, flip yourself to gallery view, do a little round of applause for each other and see who's here. You are nearly, looks like over 250 people here tonight, and we are so excited to have you here together. Tonight, you represent around 100 different institutions, colleges, universities, civic and faith-based institutions here in Chicago. So we have our campus ambassadors, our Chicago ambassadors, and some alumni ambassadors. You're from all across the country, and we're so excited that you could join us. So tonight, what's coming is that you will hear from several of your fellow ambassadors, some live and some in via video. And we will take some time to share across the group of you your wisdom. So we've been talking to many of you about what works, and we've been hearing from all of you, or many of you, or most of you, that you really are eager and anxious to hear what other people are doing and what's working and what's not working. And we want to start that conversation tonight, give you some good examples of some awesome work that's happening. Also, you'll hear from our leader at Interfaith Youth Core, Ibu Patel, in just a couple of moments. And we are so excited, as I imagine you might be, to hear tonight from Dr. Tanya Sorrell, who most of you met as a part of your orientation training. So we're really, really excited to have her back at the end of our evening tonight. She's really excited to join and to celebrate your amazing work. So before we go any further, I just want to remind folks who may not have heard this at the beginning that we do have captions available for the event tonight. Just click live transcript and show subtitles so that you can see those captions. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention and thank our generous funders for the work tonight, right? Lots of people, lots of energy, lots of funds went into bringing you all out into the world, and we're so grateful to our generous funders for that support. The first thing we want to do is hear from you all. We want to hear about what you have been doing out there, because we know a little bit about it, but we want a chance for you to share right up top. So we're going to ask you a few questions via poll, and we'd like you to respond. So first, Rachel, if you could go ahead and launch this poll. How many folks do you imagine have gotten vaccinated as a result of your cohort's faith in the vaccine work? Go ahead and choose an answer there. We'll give you a minute or so, or 30 seconds or so, to choose how many folks you think have gotten vaccinated as a result of your cohort's faith in the vaccine work. So a couple of folks still responding there. All right, just a second more. Okay, wonderful. Go ahead, Rachel, why don't you share those results? Awesome. Look at that. So many people have gotten vaccinated as a result of the work that you've done. Lots and lots, thousands and thousands probably across the country. And we are so grateful, and we hope it keeps you in a bit of awe to think about the fact that all of those folks might not have gotten the shot had you not been around. Let's ask another question. We'll go to another poll, so you can close that one, Rachel. You're out there spreading all sorts of good information, right? You are equipped to spread good information. How often would you say you've had the opportunity to share helpful information about vaccines? Once in a while, frequently, almost every day, or more times than you can count? Go ahead and tell us in the poll. Great. You can go ahead and stop the poll there and share those results, Rachel. Awesome. Look at that. Nearly a quarter of, or over a quarter of you, are sharing information that's helpful about these vaccines almost every day. That's incredible. And half of you, the other half, frequently. Really amazing. Another key component to your work is that you are out there successfully building relationships and partnerships. And we suspect you're doing it all over the place. So tell us about the new relationships you've built as a part of this work across campus, in your hometown, with community partners, with different people from different backgrounds. You can choose as many as apply. You don't have to choose just one on this one. Who are all the people you've built new relationships with? Look at that. That's crazy. Those are some big bars that are coming together here. Oh, you can't see them yet. I can. All right, just a second longer. All right, go ahead and close that poll, Rachel, and let's see the results. Look at that. A quarter of you sharing are building new relationships, or 3/4 building new relationships across campus, people going and building new relationships in their hometowns with community partners and people from all sorts of different backgrounds. This is just amazing. So we just wanted to capture that snapshot of your work. You can stop sharing the polls then, Rachel, if you haven't. We just wanted to capture that snapshot of your work, which has just been so inspirational. And hopefully this gives you a sense of the scale of what you all are making possible. So here now to talk about the meaning of that work is Ibu Patel. We are very excited to welcome Ibu. Ibu founded IFYC and is our president. And his vision played a big part in the birth of this initiative, the Faith in the Vaccine initiative. He's a big fan of yours, and he's excited to be here tonight to talk to you all today. So Ibu, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Connie. I am so excited to be with you all tonight. You have been my heroes over the course of the past several months. You have been doing the work of the nation, of the public, of the world. And I can't thank you enough and tell you how much you've inspired me. I recently had an opportunity to be a part of an interfaith conversation with His Eminence Pope Francis about the importance of vaccination. Let me make it clear, I was not in the same room as Pope Francis, but he was on video. And one of the things he said was that getting vaccinated and encouraging others to get vaccinated in a gentle way is an act of love. And he said, these small acts of love are something grand. And I thought that was so beautiful. These small acts of love that we do, these conversations that we have, these ways that we make people feel comfortable about something that they are uneasy about, they are grand. We are part of something grand. And this was a room full of people from different religious traditions, all listening to the Pope talk about what vaccination meant in Catholicism. And of course, what starts to come forth is what does it mean in our own religious traditions? And so my friend Rabbi Jonah Pesner talked about how in Judaism, saving one life is like saving all of humanity. That same ethic is in Islam. And listening to my Jewish friend talk about that reminded me of that ethic in Islam. I was also reminded of the idea that in Islam, we are meant to be Rahmatul Alameen, a special mercy upon all the worlds and all of these other human beings around us, people from different religions, people with different politics, people we disagree with on really important things like vaccines. They are all containers of the human soul, all containers of the human soul. And you have engaged with such grace with those different containers of the human soul. You have built trust. You have not engaged in arguments. You know, I read the things you write. I read the local newspaper articles on what you have done. And this notion that you view yourself as acting in the tradition of Jesus, or acting in the tradition of Baha'u'llah, or acting in the tradition of the Prophet as you do this work is so powerful. And of course, occasionally there are moments of humor along the way. I read that the delegation from Dominican University right here in River Forest, Illinois, just 10 miles from where I sit, somebody said, "You don't know what's in the vaccine." And that ambassador said, "Well, I also don't really know what's in Advil, but it helps me ease my headache." Now, of course, what that ambassador didn't say is she does know a bit about what's in the vaccine, because she, along with all of you, were trained by the wonderful, awesome Dr. Tanya Sorrell, who will join us later on this webinar. But these moments of humor, these times of bridge building, even when those bridges are challenging, these conversations, these helping people be comfortable, these are all acts of love, and they are all grand. I want to say in closing that I thought of this group, especially a few nights ago. I was on my way to a concert of some of my favorite artists with some of our closest friends, Jewish family, and we were talking about angels in Judaism, angels in Islam, angels in Buddhism, angels in Christianity, and this notion that all of our religions have angels in them. One of my favorite books is a book called The Jew and the Lotus, and there's a conversation between the Dalai Lama and rabbis about the various angels and their different traditions, and this notion of angels as something that we have in common, these holy figures that bring grace and that bring healing and that bring messages sometimes. And the concert that I was going to see was Ani DeFranco and the Indigo Girls, two of my favorite artists for 30 years. And as their encore, they came on and said, you know, this last 2 years has been really, really hard, and we've lost some really special people. And amongst those people, especially for folk singers, that they were closest to was a guy named John Prine. If anybody knows anything about John Prine, you know that he wrote this beautiful song called Angel from Montgomery. And it's about, you know, needing an angel sometimes and needing somebody who will just be proof that folks go on living even though times can get very, very hard. And what I thought about is, you know, there are angels in America right now. There are angels from Baylor, angels from Dominican, angels from Hebrew College, angels from Emory and Wingate and the University of Georgia and the Universities of the Southwest. And you have brought grace and gentleness and generosity and love and life to hundreds of thousands of people. And I, for one, cannot thank you enough. Jazakallahu khair, may God be your guardian. May God give you goodness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibu. Thank you so much. It's really lovely to hear how this looks from your desk, and hopefully it's helpful for you all to hear as well. Thank you for being with us here tonight, Ibu. I'm going to share my screen again, and then let's look at one more video.
In my work as an ambassador, something I've learned is to respect the decision of others. I was able to understand the drawbacks that my community had about the vaccine while being able to impart some truthful information.
Something that I learned is that our goal as vaccine ambassadors is not to force anybody to get the vaccine. Our goal is to educate the public on the vaccine and allow them to make that informed decision, an educated decision on whether or not they would like to receive it.
In my work as an ambassador, I've learned that it's important to talk to the community instead of at the community. Communication is very important, so we have to be honest, we have to be open, and we have to be relatable when we're conveying messages surrounding COVID-19 and the vaccine.
In my work as an ambassador, something I've learned is that just because someone is vaccine hesitant doesn't mean they're anti-vaccine. I've learned over the past few months that there's a lot of different reasons why someone might not have been vaccinated yet. And it's important to not make assumptions or judge them, but just to work towards getting them vaccinated. They might be worried about being allergic to a filler ingredient in the vaccine. They might have been waiting for FDA approval, or maybe they had a bad experience with shots in the past.
Something I've learned as far as being an ambassador is that it takes a dream team to make everything work.
Hello everyone, my name is Lotachuku Orima. I'm a junior nursing major, also following the pre-medicine track here at Southern University. The one thing I can take from this and I've learned is how important and critical health literacy is in making appropriate decisions and quality decisions for our health, and in turn, naturally, those decisions affect the ones around us, the people we love.
In my work as an ambassador, something I've learned is how to have difficult and potentially controversial conversations with people when their opinions may be different from mine, and also how to come to these conversations from a position of love and with an open mind, even if it might make me uncomfortable, and really learning how to keep my composure during these difficult times.
Thank you to those of you that we saw share your wisdom just then. We were really happy to hear it from you. We heard from tons of you. Thank you for all of you who sent in videos and shared your wisdom. We also heard from many of you that one of the biggest things you wanted from any of us was to be able to hear more from other ambassadors, to learn from what they've learned. And so one of our big goals tonight is to share that wisdom across your groups. So that's what we're going to do next. And I'm going to turn it over to Janen.
Hey everybody, I'm Janen Mohajer. I'm one of the people who supports our Chicago cohort ambassadors. You just heard from Ibu and also from a number of your peers in your ambassador cohorts of how some people are accepting of vaccines and how some people are still on that journey and are not quite yet there yet. That means there's an opportunity here to get more shots into arms. We'll focus on our wisdom sharing today on the things that work when it comes to getting those shots into arms. One strategy that has worked time and time again is bringing vaccines to existing events. For example, maybe there's an existing food pantry or a student orientation or a back to school event. One example of this comes to us from Emory University, where they partnered with a local food pantry to bring vaccines to food distribution events. They spent weeks building relationships and they managed to vaccinate 73 people. Let's hear from Reverend Kiki, who was one of the 3 co-leads on this project.
Hello everyone, my name is Reverend Kimani Kiki Francois. I am a Faith in the Vaccine ambassador from Emory University. Right now, I am at Candler School of Theology getting my Master's of Divinity. My area of focus includes theology and ethics, and I'm also obtaining my Baptist Studies certificate. I've recently ordained, so now they call me Rev Kiki. So that's been an exciting thing in my life. But another thing that's super important to me throughout the summer being a Faith in the Vaccine ambassador was I kind of really just want to share with you all my story. So my teammates John Shin and Lynn Lee and we partnered up with Emory Healthcare and Toco Hills Community Alliance Food Pantry to bring 2 mobile vaccine clinics to our local Toco Hills community, and it was wonderful. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to all of the partners involved and all the work that was done. The 2 pieces of advice that I want to offer to you all is this. When setting up these mobile vaccine clinics or doing something similar to what John and Lynn and I have done over the summer, the first thing that is really important is presence. So we serve the Latinx community, the unhoused population, and also low-income families. And so what we did was week after week, we would go to the food pantry and we would advertise and do public relations or PR, so to speak, for the upcoming mobile vaccine clinics. So we would do that and we would meet and develop relationships with the people that would come every single week. And at first something that we got to hear by being present is their concerns and their fears of the vaccine and what held them back from getting the vaccine, right? So whether it was fertility, or the contents of the vaccine, or a history of mistrust and distrust in the government, all those different things that we got an opportunity to hear. But not only just hear it, we got to address those concerns. So when we had our second mobile vaccine clinic, we addressed those questions, or most of the questions that we heard. We also created a survey, right, to not only hear people's concerns, but to ask them, hey, have you been vaccinated? Would you get it if it was here? Do you trust this space? You trust this space to get food from? Would you trust this space to get a vaccine from, right? And so we were present and we were able to hear their concerns, but also develop a relationship with the community. So they got a chance to know our faces and say our names, like, oh, I remember you, or hey, Kiki, or, like, oh, I already know what you're coming to talk to me about. But we showed up and we were present with them. The second piece of advice that I would give to anyone who's trying to either set up a mobile vaccine clinic or, pass out information or education to different communities is persistence. It took a lot of persistence to get Emory Healthcare, St. Bartholomew's Episcopal Church, Toco Hills Community Alliance, Peachtree Baptist Justice Initiative, all these people involved. And so that persistence of finding a community partner, passing out brochures and pamphlets, taking a survey, being there week after week with our local community saying that, hey, we're going to be here and there will be a mobile vaccine clinic that will be here. You can come here and receive it. We don't want to force it. We just want to be present, right? And also persistent. And so what that does is that breaks down barriers and obstacles for people who are more hesitant to get the vaccine.
Thank you, Reverend Kiki, and also the amazing team at Emory University. The ambassadors at BWS Family Life Center also use the same model. They partnered with a local faith-based organization to get people vaccinated while at a Unity Walk event and also at a Return to School Kid Fest. Their ambassadors promoted the vaccine events, answered questions, and helped direct people to the clinic and also helped them throughout the process of getting their vaccines. Another story we had is from Wingate University, where Jacob Flowers led a project to bring vaccines to a drive-through back-to-school event. Let's hear from Jacob about what worked well.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jacob Flowers. I'm a fourth-year biology major at Wingate University. I'm excited to be a part of this group and to see the continued effects of everybody's work. With the organization that I was blessed enough to work with, our goal was to spread COVID-19 vaccinations across Western Charlotte, North Carolina to underprivileged children and their families. A couple weeks ago, we hosted a vaccine clinic at a back-to-school drive-through event. We also publicized this event, and the Mecklenburg County Health Department did so as well. We ended up expecting approximately 20 to 30 people to show up to this event and agree to get vaccinated, but we ended up having approximately 63 people in about a 2-hour span. We had people coming to get vaccinated at our event that were not even involved with the event that it was run alongside. This was incredibly inspiring, and I was very happy to be a part of it. I believe that the vaccination clinic was a significant learning experience for me. I think that bringing vaccines to an existing event with committed attendees was a fantastic way to ensure turnout. As people drove to the end of the line of the back to school drive-through event, I was able to speak to each one of them in the line and answer any questions that they may have had about the vaccines. I was able to then find out if they were interested in getting their vaccination and direct them to the vaccination clinic if they were. It was in the very same parking lot that we were hosting the vaccination clinic for the drive-through event. I believe that strong outreach through multiple sources, including the Mecklenburg County Health Department, also significantly attributed to our success. There were a few moments at the clinic from August that stood out to me. One of those moments was seeing a very long line of cars in our vaccination line. We probably had a line that was about 10 to 15 cars long at one point of the event of people that were waiting to get their vaccines. While it got stressful at times, it was an honor to be a part of dozens of people getting their COVID vaccines. I was also very inspired by the attendance and help of many people that simply wanted to assist. As the clinic got slightly overwhelmed, we had representatives from organizations that came to work with me step up and help with the administrative parts of the clinic that they needed help with. One of those involved even left and got water for all the people working and waiting in their cars. One of the most inspiring things to me about this entire experience has been seeing how people have worked together to accomplish our common goal of getting more people vaccinated. Our event ran relatively smoothly and was a fantastic experience that I am very grateful for. Good luck to everybody in your vaccination efforts.
Thank you so much, Jacob. And hello, everyone. My name is Rachel, pronounced she, hers, and I support our Faith in the Vaccine campus ambassadors. Jacob just talked about the things that he learned in the work. And so let's look at another video about advice that you had for each other.
Hello, my name is Brilliant Williams, and I am a Faith Vaccine Ambassador. If there was one piece of advice that I would share to my fellow ambassadors, is to be confident in what you're advocating for. In this case, let us be confident in the vaccine to help save our fellow peers.
I would simply tell my fellow ambassadors to keep believing in the vaccine. Keep encouraging others who might be scared of the vaccine to walk by faith. Continue on spreading positivity throughout your community because it can ultimately change the view and attitude towards the vaccine.
If I could share one piece of advice with my fellow Vax ambassadors, I would say that it is important for everyone to keep an open mind. Everyone is going to have a unique experience, so it is really important to take that into account when you're working with the public. You're going to hear so many different stories, and it's important that as people share those stories with you, that you share your experiences with them. It builds trust and it allows us to do our job more effectively.
So my biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to have conversations, start conversations, whether it's in person or online. I know it can be scary considering there's so many opinions on the topic of getting vaccinated, but really you just want to go into the conversation without the intent of changing their opinion. You just want to listen to what they have to say. Stay open-minded because there's a lot of opinions and stories that people share.
Read, research, and study. Learn your facts because being able to be confident in yourself and your information and how that information is vital for your community will be able to alleviate a lot of doubts. It doesn't even have to be a lot, just one. Being able to have your facts together can help answer one question, help change one mind, and that mind will then in turn go tell their cousin or their mother or their dad and encourage them to get the vaccine.
Stay humble and remain patient because with the world we're living in now, it takes a lot of focus and determination to have a good outcome and a good turnout.
I would say to keep pushing forward and keep doing this work. Even in the times when it seems like we're not doing enough, or we're just not reaching out to enough people, or not enough people are getting the vaccine, or they don't understand or don't want to listen.
If I could share a piece of advice with my fellow ambassadors, it would be to not get discouraged. I know we've been talking about COVID for a long time, and some people just don't want to hear about it, but it's our job to get the facts out about COVID and not the myths. We want to debunk those myths. Just when you're around somebody and you're trying to tell them about COVID, just give them the facts. Don't pressure them into anything. Just do your job and do what you have to do.
So we've talked about bringing vaccines to existing events, and we want to talk about another strategy that works. It's vaccinating folks on campus. Maybe it's just for students, or maybe it's for the whole community. Maybe it's most days, or maybe it's just at certain events. But putting the vaccine right in front of people is what's key. So we wanted to highlight two different stories. First, the University of Southwest in New Mexico. For example, they partnered with FEMA to run a clinic on campus. FEMA, however, only had one staff person to run the event. The ambassador swooped in and added 9 more people. They helped with promotion, with setting up, and with running the event. Their added people power made it possible to vaccinate 200 people at one event, both students and community members. Our next example, University of Georgia. At the University of Georgia, vaccines were being offered by the University Health Center. The location, however, was not central for students. The ambassadors helped make it possible to provide a mobile clinic at the student center, which required no appointment and attracted significantly more students. I've been on UGA's campus, and let me tell you, it's a hike from end to end, so doing it somewhere central was absolutely key, and way to go, ambassadors, for that suggestion. They've also suggested an incentive program that have been wildly effective and attracted over $100,000 in funding from the university. So let's hear more about what made these mobile clinics possible from Jeremiah DeSesto, one of the UGA ambassadors. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Rachel, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to get to share with y'all. My name is Jeremiah DeSesto. I'm a third-year honors student at the University of Georgia, studying management information systems, international affairs, international business. And on behalf of the university, our advisor, Dr. Lemons, and the entire UGA vaccine ambassador team, we'd like to thank the entire Interfaith Youth Core just for providing us with the resources to not only combat COVID-19 in our respective universities, but also aiding and putting together teams of like-minded and driven individuals to help in this fight. At the University of Georgia, our team has worked diligently to inform, encourage, and drive students, faculty, and staff in receiving the vaccine. And thanks to direct partnerships with Georgia Public Health, our president, Jerry Moorhead, UGA Athletics, the University Health Center, the UGA Marketing Department, Doctors Without Borders, AMSA, Ron Corson, Coach Kirby Smart, and many others. Accessibility and ease of access has been the backbone to our efforts in Athens. Having set up, like you said, walk-in clinics at the Tate Student Center, leading to over 345 vaccinated people in the span of just 2 weeks. And not to mention the over 1,360 people that have received the vaccine at our University Health Center. And our partnerships have made way for incentives such as free football game tickets, tour of the football facilities, $100 Visa gift cards, and $1,000 to 100 lucky people who've received the vaccine, just to name a few. And this is truly a community-wide effort, having put on attractions such as the Say Yes Summer event, featuring live music by local bands and meetups with football players. And these achievements are truly groundbreaking. However, what I am most proud of our team for doing is making genuine connections with folks and providing them with support, encouragement, and love. And these are the things people have yearned for during a very dark year and during the advent of COVID-19. And there's still a long way to go to return to normalcy, but with the efforts of our ambassador team, our community, and our administration, coupled with the help of the Interfaith Youth Core, I have no doubt in my mind that normalcy will arrive sooner than later. And it is my optimism that teams around the nation can use our story as a basis of hope and encouragement to drive students, faculty, and staff to receive the vaccine, flatten the curve, and get back to normal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. We really appreciate your being here tonight. We're so happy to hear about the work that you all are doing. I hope it's as inspirational to others as it is to me and to our team here at IFYC. All right, one quick video yet, one more last piece from your fellow ambassadors. Look for your own folks here, and then we will move on to hear from Dr. Sorrell in just a moment.
Being a faith in the vaccine ambassador is important to me because I myself am immunocompromised. So are some of my family and my friends. And it's really important that I do whatever I can to promote the vaccine and bring protection and awareness to my community. I also am a nursing student, and this is something that I am very passionate about. And so it's important that I do what I can to protect my patients and the people in my community.
Because the COVID-19, its impact is affecting largely Black and brown Chicago, or plains folk, Black people. We are most at risk and are most suffering with illnesses that are susceptible to COVID. Diabetes, asthma, heart disease, cancer. Many of the households in these zip codes of 606, 36, and 21 on this southwest side community have high rates of those diseases. And it is important that we get Black folks, particularly Black folks in these zip codes, to come out and get vaccinated.
First, I think science, facts, religion, and spirituality all have a place here. They are all very important. As a healthcare worker, I never want to see another person suffocate helplessly alone in a medical facility. And I want everyone to feel accepted in debate, to feel respected.
Being a faith in the vaccine ambassador is important to me because I believe that everyone should do their part in public health. And this is a public health crisis right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's just important to educate the general public about ways to protect yourself as well as people around you.
Being a faith and vaccine ambassador is important to me because while one of our goals is to educate our community who was disproportionately affected by COVID-19 about the vaccine, we have also been called to help aid them and their families during such a difficult time.
Being a faith in the vaccine ambassador is important to me because I am now part of something greater than myself.
Being a faith in the vaccine ambassador is important to me because it gives us the ability to reach out to our communities and help the country tackle coronavirus. As a medical scribe, I have seen firsthand how this recent wave of the Delta variant has overwhelmed our healthcare systems and devastated our nation with its deadly effects. Now, more than ever before, I believe that our work as Faith in the Vaccine Ambassadors plays a pivotal role in addressing vaccine hesitancy. Our outreach not only seeks to educate our communities, but also to protect them. It has been an amazing experience so far to see how simple conversations, opening access, and bringing together community members can bring about positive changes, and I'm looking forward to see what else our cohorts across the nations can do to battle this virus.
This is bigger than just one person or 10 people. They really got to come together and do this. So it's a blessing to be a part of something as important as this.
That's just so good, isn't it? It's just so good. You all are just so good. It gets me every time. Thank you, all of you, again, for all of your work. It's so great to watch and to pay tribute to it. Really proud of all of you. Now, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's the moment I've been waiting for. I don't know about you all, but if you were with us when you had an orientation session with Dr. Tanya Sorrell, either in May or in June, you felt like you got a masterclass in COVID vaccines that day. I personally learned more about COVID and COVID vaccines in that first session with her than I had for a year and a half. So we are so pleased to be back in the room with Dr. Sorrell. We're so pleased that you could join us. She's been hearing about your work and she's back now to talk to us about what she's seeing out there, about what your work means. And without further ado, welcome back, Dr. Sorrell.
Thank you so much, Connie. And
First of all, congratulations to all of you. And Connie, you were so right. It's been so inspiring to hear this afternoon what you ambassadors have been doing, all the great work that you've already accomplished. And I'm so honored to be able to speak with you today. So we know just from our initial quiz, how many people we've been able to reach out to so far with communication, how many people have been vaccinated based on our contacts, our listening and giving them the right and good information, and how many lives we've saved so far. So that's been great work so far. And I've been so proud of each and every one of you guys as I've been hearing the numbers and information coming back. You know, we've made great progress with over 63% of the population over 12 in the US vaccinated. We're still going because we're not there yet. And sadly, as we look at some of the increasing numbers in cases since the 1st of July, some of us started to worry that maybe we're moving back to where we stood as a nation before, almost defenseless against COVID-19 at the start of 2021. But that's not true. We have hope. And we have a weapon that we didn't have during 2020. We have the COVID-19 vaccine, and your work so far in being able to help with decreasing vaccine hesitancy and accepting the faith in the vaccine and being able to move us forward and moving us past this. So what's important now is that we don't get weary in our well-doing, just as Paul talks about in Galatians 6:9. And we have to remember what was happening at that time when Paul made that statement, that some were heeding the call. They were changing their lives, they were seeing miracles happening, while others were using slander and disinformation and persecution to try to hold back the progress of the early Christians at that day, saying, well, the Christians are doing this, or and finding reasons to feel like they were smart in their own minds and deceived in and of themselves. Sound familiar? Paul saw that some of its early disciples were starting to get stressed, frustrated, or even angry, or starting to feel hopeless that they couldn't really make a difference long term in changing people's lives or in helping to save people's lives, when so many people were knowledgeable in their own minds and then were ignoring the word and unfortunately condemning themselves. So as you see, that statement is just as appropriate now as it was way back then over 2,000 years ago. And in nearly every culture, religion, or just in your personal walk in life, you've seen where trying to do good,
social media campaign,
and working with others and working towards goals, that resistance is sometimes there. We see that same hesitance and resistance even in today's world. We see doctors and nurses becoming somewhat stressed or overwhelmed by the fact that the bulk of COVID-19 patients now are those who had chosen not to get vaccinated. And we've seen healthcare workers go from being the heroes and saving of Americans to being the targets of threats, slander, and vicious and even violent attacks by anti-vaxxers. And the healthcare workers are starting to feel burnt out, are leaving the profession, or even having thoughts that it isn't worth it and being at higher risk for suicide. But those that are against the vaccine mandates and mask mandates and the other measures that we're using to try to decrease harm in schools and our offices and our community actually are threatening or suggesting that we shouldn't save each other's lives, or that we shouldn't think about those who might be immunocompromised or children not able to be vaccinated yet, or caring for the poor and sick has become a liability. But we as ambassadors have to stay vigilant and not weary, knowing that our work will be heeded by those who have an ear to be able to hear. We must have that same compassion for those that are still hesitant as we do for those who are not saved or have lost their walk in life. And that compassion must guide how we interact with them, just as has been said by so many others today already. Some have said that the non-vaccinated shouldn't get our pity or compassion or even get medical care. But we know that those that are deceived don't know that they are. And so we have to show that forgiveness, that patience and persistence to all. But for the grace of God, we could be in their shoes. So we show kindness and ask our message to be heard by them. We show that special kindness that Ibu had mentioned earlier too. We ask people that may have hesitancy, what are their concerns? And we listen and we reason together to help them understand the truth. We recognize that there's 10 times more disinformation out there in social media than even when we first started these talks in May. So discernment is so much harder to find for those that don't have knowledge. And we realize that a lot of those that are spewing the anti-vaxxer information, like Fox News or political leaders or talk radio pundits, they're already vaccinated. So we wonder why that hypocritical talk is out there. And then we see that so many of them are even getting COVID-19 if they're unvaxxed and sadly dying. We know that this isn't just a US issue. It's not a political issue, but it's a world issue. There are over 5.5 million that have been lost in the world from COVID-19, but over 6 billion vaccines have been given around the world and 200 million in the US. So we know the good and the positivity that can come from getting vaccinated. Some celebrities have even believed the disinformation. Joe Rogan, even as recently as yesterday, Nicki Minaj. But we remember that we have to remind those that you go to trusted professionals. You wouldn't use Facebook to show how you would treat a skin tumor or any other type of medical issue. So don't let social media treat you. Let someone that you know and trust give you information and answers. We know that there are novel remedies that are online that are just about making clicks or social media fame, not public health information. So ivermectin, betadine, other vitamins, those don't cure or work with COVID-19, but the free vaccine will prevent and protect people. In working and discussing these, as I've talked with Connie before, it's actually had me look back into history so that when you're talking with those in populations that are most at risk, like minorities, African Americans or Latinos, or discussions about Tuskegee, even remind them that even the start of vaccinations in the United States was done by those who were Black. So Black folks have continued to be part of the process in helping in healthcare. Smallpox in the 1700s was killing many in the US colonies at that time. But Onesimus, an enslaved African, told his master about how in Africa they used cowpox to help prevent smallpox in humans. So this same slave helped save Ben Franklin's life after his son had died from smallpox by showing that cowpox could be used to help prevent smallpox. After that happened, General Washington mandated that all of his troops take the smallpox vaccine during the Revolutionary War, all from an enslaved African who had started that mission in number and knowledge. So help those to recognize that African Americans, minorities have always been in the forefront of medical progress, particularly in the way of vaccines. When people may mention vaccine mandates, ask them if they've gone to school, because we've always had a list of things that we needed to have vaccinations for: measles, mumps, chickenpox, things that used to kill and cripple our country and our citizens. And that mandates are recommending the vaccine isn't actually new. The president, LBJ, in 1966, made hospitals desegregate to obtain Medicaid funds and Medicare funds. And there have been military mandates for over 17 vaccines for those who are involved in the military. So this isn't new, but it's something that we can know as a group to help to answer some of the disinformation that's out there. And then bring it back to the personal stories, losses of children or parents who chose not to vaccinate. We know that sadly, more children are being affected by this Delta variant of COVID-19, and that over 120,000 children in the US have been orphaned due to COVID-19. Ask people who is important to them that has an illness, cancer, diabetes, or obesity, as someone said earlier in the video. Your choice to delay vaccination can impact them. And so getting vaccinated saves not only you, but saves those around you. So remind yourself Don't get weary in all the well-doing and good that you've done so far, but remember to take self-care as well. Take breaks, safe vacations, meditate, get some downtime. Remember to take care of yourself. During this time, if I can show you right quick, this has been some of my self-care. And I've gotten a puppy to be able to help in keeping and helping to motivate. So this is Dubo. Say hi, guys. But think of the things that help to keep you going and to keep you motivated. Remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. Run your race for the crown and rejoice for each person that you're able to move forward in discussions toward vaccination. Each person you touch their lives and their families' lives as well. Remember, just as with the disciples, not everybody is ready to heed the calling. So use those principles, patience, persistence, just as they did, to talk, to give them information, and to come back in compassion, so that we know that little by little we can work at changing hearts, not condemnation, but compassion that will set the stage for that. And then remember to press to that higher calling and all that you're doing now, to all that you speak to all that will listen. That's a blessing of this time for all of us. We can give that life-saving, renewing knowledge to those that are ready to listen. We've been blessed by this calling. You ambassadors are blessed in what you're doing. And God is favoring us as we go forward in this mission for all those in all groups and religion that work toward really helping people to save lives. So go forth now and continue to work on saving lives as we keep working together in this mission. Thank you so much for letting me talk with you guys today. It was truly moving and inspiring to hear even all the work that you've done so far. And Connie, you guys keep up the great work and always reach out to me if you want any information or any other talks in the future.
Thank you so much.
To see you guys today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sorrell. We are so pleased. Thank you, puppy. What's the puppy's name, Dr. Sorrell?
Dubo.
Oh, hi, Dubo. Thank you. That's enough to keep us from growing weary this afternoon, at least. Thank you so much. We appreciate your being here. All right. Thank you. We're so pleased to have been able to hear those inspiring words. I love this idea of sort of the extra care that we need to not grow weary in our work. I'm just going to close us out with a little bit of our last sort of call to action, what we'll do from here. So let me just get set back up. One moment. All right. So what do we do now, right? First of all, we just know already that you've been working hard. You've been working hard for a while now. It can be tough at times, and that's part of why we wanted to bring you here together, is to fight against that weariness, right? So hopefully you have found your spirits lifted tonight. For me, it definitely helps to see you all out there doing this work. And so we're happy to be here with you. And we also want to just put out a call to action. As you continue in your work this fall, maybe you already have your plate full, you already have your plans full, amazing, great, do that. Or maybe there's room in your work to take up this call to get more shots in arms. So if it's helpful, think about whether you might bring some vaccines to an existing event. Are there popular events coming up? So trick or treat events or fall events, harvest festivals, etc. Are there events coming up? Are there lines of people you can be present at? Where might you support clinics that are already scheduled to happen? Or if you're on a campus, can you help folks get vaccinated there? Do you know if your university health center needs extra help, could use your extra capacity? Maybe there's something more you can do there. Maybe you've noticed now that where vaccinations happen on campus is a little less central than maybe it could be. Maybe there's something you can do about that. So just a couple things to think about if there's space in your world to think about what you might do in this fall, which is so critical as we move into the winter. The good news is, in addition to all of what you've already got under you, is that we are here to support you in this work. We have lots of resources and we want to make sure you know about them. So first and foremost, please note that we are offering new $5,000 grants that are available to ambassadors to do this sort of work. So to do work that prioritizes shots in arms and that helps people remove barriers to vaccination. So that's number one. We have some funding support. If you're interested, you'll see an email in a couple of days, within the next couple of days, with details on how to apply for that funding. Or if you want to contact someone right away, feel free to reach out to Don if you're in the Chicago cohort, or reach out to Rachel if you're on the campus side. We will also, in the next day or so, be sending you a how-to resource that has all sorts of great wisdom and advice about how to have these kinds of clinics, either at existing events or on campus. It's advice that's been distilled from all of your wisdom as we talk to you and as we've learned through your work what works and what doesn't. So we'll pass that along. It will include not only your advice, but also some really handy tools that have been developed by experts in the field. That advice will focus on 4 things that you all called out as critical: building strong relationships, doing very targeted promotion ahead of clinics, in using incentives to get people to show up, and convenience, putting the vaccines right in front of people so that they can't hardly miss them. So money, how-to resources that will arrive in just a couple of days, or not, if not tomorrow. And finally, we're offering 4 weeks, just 4 weeks of connection hours. What these are is a once weekly, hour-long opportunity for any ambassadors to join together in a pretty open discussion-based Zoom room with me or someone else from IFYC to talk about anything, or there are specific topics. So for the next 4 Fridays, starting this Friday, you'll have opportunities to talk about things like effective outreach, how to have these clinics, or what best practices are from these clinics, how your own personal faith or philosophical or ethical tradition inspire you and keep you going in this work, things like that. So right now, Gracie has just shared in the chat the link to register for those ambassador connection hours. As I mentioned, they're each Friday for the next 4 Fridays in the afternoon, I think at 3 to 4 Central each Friday. So feel free to sign up for one of those or 4 of those, and we will use them as you all need them. They're there, space for you, as we heard that you all wanted to have space to connect with one another. So this is our official ambassador hang for the next month or so. All right, and so without further ado, there's no further ado, I'm going to let you all go, but I just want to just say thank you. Thank you to all 300 of you who are here tonight, who took time out of your day. I hope that your heart is full, and I hope that you can feel how appreciative we all are of the good work that you're doing. You are our angels. Keep it up. You're doing amazing work, and please tell us how we can be helpful, because we are here for you. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.